Good morning, Florida. I hope everyone's having a wonderful, wonderful morning out there or day, depending on what time you're watching this. It is good to see you guys here back again for another video. So for today, we got ourselves a lot of things we're going to talk about for today's weather across bits of Florida. We got ourselves a few things we're going to talk about here, starting off with the satellite and radar this morning, taking a look at those current conditions, and then we're going to dive into the Storm Prediction Center outlook for today, the future radar, the temperatures, the mugginess index, and then we're going to dive into the Hurricane Center's outlook here. And lastly, to end it all, we're going to take a look once again at the drought monitor. Now, guys, if you do ultimately enjoy this video, be sure to leave a like, hit that subscribe button, and maybe consider sharing this as well. It'll be greatly appreciated. And without further ado, let's go ahead and get right on into it. So starting off here this morning across bits of the Panhandle, we are absolutely clear. There really isn't much going on out there. Really no showers, really no cloud cover, really nothing going on at the moment. So then we work our way over here towards bits of the northern side of Florida, kind of out there by the Big Bend. You can see there's a little bit more cloud cover out here, a couple of clouds in the general area, but mostly clear for the most part. Heading towards central Florida, this is where we have a little bit of cloud cover early this morning. Actually a little bit of showers out there just north of Tampa here this morning overall. We got ourselves a pretty stormy day here for today as we're getting ready to get into here in a moment. So then we dive into South Florida here. Honestly, mostly clear for the most part. We have a little bit of clouds heading on out there towards Fort Lauderdale and Miami area, but for the most part, we have a pretty clear morning this morning, but that's going to change as we go later on down into the afternoon. Alright, everybody, so now we're diving away over here into the Storm Prediction Center's outlook here for today. We got ourselves a general thunderstorm threat for the entire state of Florida, not just for today, but over the next 3 days here. We're going to be seeing a lot of storm activity here in Florida. We're finally back in our rainy season, so definitely good. And as we're going to look here in a little bit with that drought monitor, this will definitely kind of help ease some of those conditions here. So let's go ahead and head on over here into the future radar. Let's go ahead and see where we could see some of those storms here for today. Alright, so now we're taking a look here at the future radar here regarding the sub-hourly HRRR. This is as of the 12 Zulu run here for this morning. So as we go throughout the morning, not really a whole lot is expected. According to the HRRR, a few showers could pop off, but honestly, I'm not really expecting a whole lot of anything here this morning. It's not really until we kind of get into those peak heating hours, kind of into the early afternoon, where we really start to see those storms popping off across bits of central and southern Florida here. So then we continue further down in time, right around into the later afternoon, early evening, right around 5 o'clock, you can really start to see some storms starting to pop up across bits of northern Florida, out there by the Big Bend and areas of the Panhandle. Central southern Florida, definitely likely seeing some heavy storm activity here as well. Once again, not expected to be severe, but definitely we could see some strong storms out here. So then we continue further down in time here, right around 7 o'clock p.m., and around this time, you could definitely see, we still have a lot of activity going on here, well into 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock, which a lot of these storms kind of group up here towards the middle of Florida, from those sea breeze boundaries there, really allowing for some deep convection, likely possibly across bits of central and kind of northern Florida here for later on this evening. And things really should start to clear up once we kind of go in right around midnight or so. That's whenever the storm should start to fade out. The sun goes down, you have that lack of daylight heating, and that basically is, killing out those storms here because the surface kind of cools and everything like that. But yeah, that is what we are seeing here for today. So definitely quite a stormy day. Like I said, storm starting off here later on this afternoon. All right, so shifting gears over into the temperatures here for today. So we're going to skip to right around 4 o'clock because that is right around the time of peak heating here. That is the hottest time of the day. So we're going to start off here by taking a look here out there by the Panhandle here. Definitely is going to be a very warm day out there. So right around peak heating, we can expect those temperatures by the Panhandle coastal areas here, possibly into the mid to maybe upper 80s here for today. Definitely a lot more warm as we go up into northern Florida, out there by the Big Bend region here. Look at that, out by Jacksonville, possibly into the upper 90s here for today. Some spots could even break 100 degrees here, according to the HRRR here for today. So then we dive into central Florida. Definitely a pretty warm day out here as well, kind of in the lower to mid 90s overall. And then we dive into South Florida. Actually, they're going to be a little bit more cooler here, out there by Fort Lauderdale here, in the upper 80s. Not a whole lot more cooler per se, but definitely cooler than, say, areas up in central and northern Florida here. But yeah, definitely is going to be a pretty warm day here overall for Florida. But, it is to be expected for this time of the year because, we're really starting to get into our peak heating season where we're going to be seeing some of the hottest temperatures here across Florida. But anyways, so just be ready for that. Be sure y'all blast that AC today because it is going to be a warm, warm day. All right, everybody, so now we're moving our way over here into the mugginess meter here. So taking a look at the mugginess across Florida. Now, it is going to be a very muggy day. It is to be expected for this time of the year. As we go down into right around 4 o'clock p.m., during that peak heating here, those dew points are going to drop a little bit as opposed to this morning, but still, well into the 60s and 70s, which, the mugginess is still absolutely going to be there. It is going to be a very humid day across Florida here for today. And then, of course, as we go later on into the evening hours here, the dew points are going to be increasing yet again because the sun sets and everything, which is going to still make it pretty humid. So bottom line, it's going to be humid for the next while. Alrighty, friends, so now we're moving over here into the tropical weather outlook here, taking a look at the risk here from the Hurricane Center. We don't have anything really crazy going on here in the Atlantic. We do still have this one disturbance out here in the Western Gulf. This has an overall 20% chance probability of development here in the next 7 days. Also a 20% chance probability of development in the next 48 hours here as well. Not really expecting a whole lot out of this system, to be quite fair with you. But I just wanted to go ahead and mention it, because it is out there, but, not really expecting a lot out of that system. Alright, everybody, so now we're diving over here into the last segment of today's video here, taking a look at the drought monitor. Now, starting off across bits of the Panhandle, we do have ourselves a moderate drought across the tan areas here. Abnormally dry, so slightly dry across the yellow areas. But once we dive our way over here in towards the Big Bend, this is where it starts to get pretty crazy. Now, I'm happy to say that those drought conditions are definitely going down a bit, as the exceptional drought area out there by like Perry and Cross City area has gone down quite a bit, but still is pretty darn dry out there. We still do have some areas in that exceptional drought here overall. So then we dive our way over here into Central Florida. It's definitely eased up a bit. Out there by Orlando, we're still in, a severe drought for the most part, but, hopefully with this continuous rainfall that we're going to be getting, from Florida's rainy season, which it's been kind of, popping up here lately, hopefully that'll kind of help ease some of those conditions here overall. So then we dive our way over here into South Florida here. Now, out there by the Everglades, definitely still very, very dry. Not as dry out there by Fort Lauderdale and Miami areas, as we are kind of more in the abnormally dry category, not necessarily a full-on drought out there, but overall the drought conditions are definitely starting to ease a little bit, but it's still definitely very dry across Florida. But alright, everybody, well, that's going to go ahead and wrap up this video. If you guys did enjoy it, once again, please consider leaving a like, hitting that subscribe button, and maybe consider sharing this to your friends out there. It'll be greatly appreciated. I hope you guys have a wonderful rest of your day, and we'll see you guys here in the next one. Peace out, my friends. See ya later on.